Welcome back to the training videos for the 2020-2029 strategic plan of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. And we're now moving on to framework for goals and KPIs. And this is the first video in that series. Framework for goals and KPIs 1. So, introduction. As usual, the training resources required for this is a framework for goals and KPIs, and then templates for 3-year rolling plan and annual quarterly targets. And then there's an exercise on TYRP and AQT. And all these can be downloaded from the PCG Strategic Plan resources at the pcgonline.org. So anybody who wants access to any of these documents must go to pcgonline.org and download them. Of course, if you have any questions relating to this presentation, you can also send it to PCG. You can also send it to strategicplan@pcgonline.org, and your questions will be answered. And this website will be scrolled on your screens as we proceed. So the framework for goals and KPIs, we'll treat this in 3 steps. First of all, we'll look at understanding the framework. Then we'll look at the overarching goals and KPIs. And then look at the departmental goals and KPIs. The content will be treated in 2 videos. This video focuses on understanding the framework, and the others will then be in video 2. So what is the framework that we are talking about? There's framework for goals and KPI. What is this framework? The framework is a key element of Pillar 2, accountability of the implementation plan. I'm sure we first brought it up under Pillar 2 as the tool for measuring success, the tools for planning, and the tools for monitoring and evaluation. And this was approved by the GAC in November 2019. We'll look at this a little bit more in detail. Now, it translates the framework for goals and KPIs, translates the strategic plan into specific overarching goals and departmental goals. If you look at the framework, you have overarching goals and departmental goals. Now, each goal also has a specific national target and KPI, key performance indicator, each goal. So either the goal is put under overarching goals, or the goals is put under departmental goals. And as we go on, we'll look at what the overarching goals are and what the departmental goals are. But they all have the same character. Each of them has national targets, and each of them has a key performance indicator or key performance indicators, KPIs. So this is a general frame that you get, and when you get the Excel sheet, you see that all these elements are evident in the Excel sheet that describes the framework. Now, so the first thing we ask ourselves is that, what is a goal? What is a goal? Because we are talking about overarching goals and departmental goals. So what is a goal? And we say simply, very, very, very simple, goals are smart statements of intent. SMART statement of intent. I'm sure we've seen the SMART before, the acronym SMART. It is simple, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So when you make a SMART statement of intent, we call it what? A goal. It's simple because it can easily be understood what you intend to do. The goal you intend to achieve should be easily understood by people who hear you say it. So you should say it in the simplest form as you can. And you should say it in a way that is measurable. That means when you are successful or when you fail, people should be able to tell without too much problem. And when you are setting yourself a goal, you must give yourself the chance that you can do it. So you have to look at your abilities before you set yourself goals. So if you set yourself goals which is not achievable, then you are not doing yourself any good. So and achievability is determined by the resources that are at your. So if you decide that you want to go to the moon, you must have the resources that takes you to the moon. You must have the scientists, you must have the research institutions, you must have the financing, and the other hardware that is required to be able to take you into space. So if you don't have those resources and you set yourself the goal, then it's not a SMART goal. Then it must be realistic. It must be something which has a chance of being successful. It should have a reasonable chance of being successful. And of course, if it's not time bound, then every time you can say that, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. But every SMART goal is set within some time boundaries to be achieved, or certain parts of it to be achieved. So we say that goals are SMART statements of intent. And this is it for our case under the strategic plan. Now, the goals have been structured to have, first of all, overarching goals for each of the courts. So the General Assembly has overarching goals, Presbytery has overarching goals, District has overarching goals, and the congregation has overarching goals. And then, in addition to the overarching goals, there are what we call the departmental goals for each of the GAO and Presbytery levels. So you see that at the GAO level, there's one group of goals called overarching, and then there are 7 groups of goals called departmental goals. And these are goals for each of the departments under the GAO. The same thing happens at the Presbytery. Then, at the district and congregational levels, at the district level, the 7 departments become 7 committees. So the departmental goals become committee goals. And there will be 7 of those groups of goals under each of the committees in the district. And then, when it comes to the congregations, the committees become 11. So there will be 11 committee goals or departmental goals, which become 11 committee goals in the congregation. So this is the structure. So for each court, there's one set of overarching goals and a number set of 777 for the 3 top, and the congregation is 11. So this is a general frame for it. And the goals also relate with each other as you go up. So the goal which starts from the congregation is related to the goals that you have in the district. And that is also related to the goals that you have in the Presbytery and at the General Assembly. So that you can, if an introduction of additional goals can also be brought in, and then they are carried upwards. So the goals are set first at the congregation, and then they are carried right up to the top in terms of measuring how effectively they are being implemented. And then also the higher courts can add more goals, because they are doing things in that more of the administrative and facilitation role, and those goals can be different from what you do on the day-to-day in the congregation. Then also, for each of the goals, so you either take an overarching goal or a departmental goal, and for each of them, there's what we call a national target. That means at the national level, a target has been set to be achieved by the congregation, by the district, and by the presbytery, and of course at the national office also. So these are called the national targets. And they are specific for each goal. Specific for each goal. And these targets are measured using the KPI. So the key performance indicator is a measure that is used to measure whether you have been successful in achieving the target or not. And what the targets are supposed to do is to provide benchmark for the cause to set their own targets. The target is there, and that is what the national is setting for all of us. But it's not all the courts that have the same ability. So two districts in the same presbytery may not have the same ability, and so the rate at which they achieve that benchmark will be different. So that's why we call them benchmarks. And the essence is that when these benchmarks are set, it helps to mobilize all the calls to focus on the most critical issues in the church. Currently, it's Vision 1.5. So we all say we want to achieve 1.5 million by 2023. This is a very smart goal. Now, are we able to do it? Is it realistic? Is it achievable? The only way we can do it is grow at 10% per annum for the next 5 years, from 2019 to 2023. We must grow as a church by 10% per annum. And that is a tough one. It's achievable, but when it comes to probability, realism, we ask ourselves, we have to really push ourselves. Really push ourselves. We need to do a lot, much more than what we do now to be able to achieve it. And that's why we need to put in the structures to be able to be successful. Now, for each of the goals also, there are KPIs. So each target will come with its KPIs. How do we measure success? So if we say go and win souls, we say the KPI is the number of souls you win. If we say go and raise funds, then it's the amount of money that you raise. If we say spend money on welfare needs of your members, then it could be how much money am I spending on the welfare needs of my members. If we say help people to help the schools in your community, then the goal could be that how many of them are able to progress from basic school to secondary school. So the KPIs can always be defined for every goal that we set ourselves. And the KPIs are the measuring rod for performance and evaluation. So in setting performance targets, you use a KPI. In measuring performance, you use a KPI. And if you are evaluating performance, you are comparing the KPI to the target, your performance to the target that you set, and using statistical processes to see if you've done well or you have not. So KPIs become a very important tool. And again, one thing that it does for us is that if the same KPI is set right through the court, then it helps us to be able to collate. So the district can collate performance in the congregations and say, this is what the district as a whole was able to achieve. So if 10 congregations each win 5 souls, then the district can say, as a district, we won 50 souls. And then, because 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus by 5 will give us 50. So this is the value of the KPIs, a very powerful tool. And when we say we should define and measure them, they become very important in measuring how well the church is doing. Now, So the General Assembly Council has developed a KPI framework, and so what? It being on paper on the website for you to go and look at is not enough if you don't work with that framework. So what actions is required of each court once you pick a copy of the framework? It says it helps you to undertake Pillar 3, plan for implementation. So the KPIs will set you targets, and once you have targets, you have to plan to implement measures or strategies to be able to achieve the goals that you set yourself. And then it also helps you to do performance monitoring and evaluation. It has given you the tools to be able to do that. And then under Pillar 2, it also provides the tools for the MEO to hold the AO to account, because they can agree on the goals, they can agree on how the goals will be measured, and how often they will be measured. And this is the performance management system that we'll speak about more extensively later on. And then, so for each of these, there are things. For Pillar 3, plan for implementation, you have the 3-year rolling plans and the annual quarterly targets. For Pillar 4, performance monitoring and evaluation, you have quarterly reports and annual report. And then for Pillar 2, the performance management system, we have a performance management target agreement, and then performance evaluation systems. So when all these things are done by the courts, then we can see some results being generated. We can evaluate the results, and we can see how well we are doing, whether we have been realistic or we have just been dreaming. So this is what we need to do with the framework for goals and KPIs, so that we can achieve some results for ourselves as a church. So subsequent videos will look at these elements that we've displayed here, what we need to do. So far, we've looked at what has been given to us. From now going on, we are going to look at what we need to do to take these processes forwards. But video 2 will first describe a little more detail the overarching goals and departmental goals for us, so that before we go into the actionable areas for us. So we'll continue with video 2 and looking at the overarching goals and the departmental goals into a little more detail.